It is hard to put into words the apocalyptic disaster unfolding in California as wildfires rage in and around Los Angeles. We'll have a lot more to say about that on the other side. Let's dive in. Good evening and welcome to tonight's episode of Mary Trump Live. As mentioned, we have been keeping a very close eye on what's happening out in Los Angeles. It is just absolutely devastating what's happening out there. We know that at least 2 people have been reported dead. 1.5 million people have lost power, and tens of thousands, and actually over 150,000 people are under evacuation orders. I want to take a look there because this is an unfolding situation. There will be much, much more to say about it. Right now, all we can hope is that the winds start dying down and our incredible first responders are able to make some headway. But right now, I wanted to talk about the 2 very disparate responses between the way President Biden has been handling this and the way the president-elect has been handling this massive tragedy. So not surprisingly, President Biden, without needing any concessions or without anybody needing to kiss his ass, has approved a major disaster declaration for California. The White House said, quote, "Today, President Biden has approved a major disaster declaration for California, allowing survivors to immediately access funds and resources to jumpstart their recovery. Additionally, FEMA approved a fire management assistance grant to reimburse California for firefighting costs last night." That is how it's done. That is how it should be, regardless of which state in our union is suffering from a massive natural disaster. Unfortunately, this is the first of Donald Trump's responses to the tragedy. Quote, "Governor Gavin Newsom refused to sign the water restoration declaration put before him that would have allowed millions of gallons of water from excess rain and snowmelt from the north to flow daily into many parts of California, including the areas that are currently burning in a virtually apocalyptic way. He wanted to protect an essentially worthless fish called a smelt. By giving it less water, it didn't work, but didn't care about the people of California. Now, the ultimate price is being paid. I will demand that this incompetent governor allow beautiful, clean, fresh water to flow into California. He is to blame for this. On top of it all, no water for fire hydrants, not firefighting planes. A true disaster." It goes without saying at this point that that is an almost impossible to keep track of stream of lies, and it didn't get much better. Here is his second post on social media. Quote, "As of this moment, Gavin Newsom and his Los Angeles crew have contained exactly 0% of the fire. It is burning at levels that even surpassed last night. This is not government. I can't wait until January 20th, unquote." And then, in all caps, in case we weren't paying attention, quote, "No water in the fire hydrants, no money in FEMA. This is what Joe Biden is leaving me. Thanks, Joe." Let's put this in perspective, shall we? This has nothing to do with government. This is the direct result of out of control climate catastrophe. But here's another tweet. Quote, "The fires in Los Angeles may go down in dollar amount as the worst in the history of our country. In many circles, they're doubting whether insurance companies will even have enough money to pay for this catastrophe. Let this serve and be emblematic of the gross incompetence and mismanagement of the Biden-Newsom duo. January 20th cannot come fast enough," unquote. Okay, again, this has nothing to do with water management or protecting a fish or any of the other nonsense that Donald throws out there. The fact that he would take this moment of this is an emergency situation, which many of us have never and hopefully will never experience. So to be calling the governor of a state that is dealing with this massive catastrophe and potential loss of life and property a horrible nickname is just beneath contempt. It is beneath contempt. What is more troubling, actually, than Donald's immaturity, which I guess is just baked in by now, is the potential for this kind of disaster happening during his administration. Will we have the same kind of situation unfold as we did during COVID or during other wildfires that occurred in California, where Donald treated blue state governors very differently and withheld resources and funding if said governors did not bow down to him sufficiently? All right, there's a lot more to get to today, but before I continue, I'd just like you ask, please take a second to like and share this video, and please subscribe to our channel. If you're listening via podcast, it would be awesome if you could follow the show and give us a 5-star rating. All right, let's get back to that Mar-a-Lago conference that happened yesterday morning. Again, it was the usual combination of lies, bluster, and decompensation. So I just wanted to give you a snapshot of the craziness and pull out some of the more salient details for you. Watch this clip.
This guy loves electric, and we don't have enough electricity, and then we have AI where we need more, and he wants everybody to have an electric heater instead of a gas heater. Gas heater is much less expensive. The heat is much better. It's a much better heat. As the expression goes, you don't itch. Does anybody have a heater where you go and you're scratching into? That's what they want you to have. They brought this moron out of The Hague. He's a mean guy. He's a mean, nasty guy. His picture was perfect, because you look at his picture, you say, that's a bad guy, with his robe, his purple robe. And he executes people. He shouldn't be allowed to execute people, because he'll execute everybody. He's a nut job. I mean, we have a judge in New York who's a very crooked judge. I'm under a gag order. I can't even talk about aspects of the case. Changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name. Because I did nothing wrong. By the way, I did absolutely nothing wrong.
Yeah, I said lies, bluster, and decompensation. I left projection off that list because he said that Jack Smith just goes around executing people, which is obviously untrue. Just a reminder that President Biden commuted the sentences of 37 out of the 40 inmates on federal death row because one of the first things Donald was going to do was put all of them to death. All right, but let's focus in what really matters during that. What really mattered during that press conference. This idea of American expansionism, which he is taking to the nth degree. It started out with an obsession over Greenland back in 2017. Now he's talking about taking over or taking back, or what have you, the Panama Canal. And when asked the question if he may use military force to take over Panama and or Greenland, he didn't give a straightforward answer. He also continues to obsess about making Canada our 51st state. By the way, Canada has absolutely no interest in becoming our 51st state. And as we saw, he wants to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, which is one, impossible, and two, simply embarrassing. Now, one question remains. Did Donald commit a war crime against Greenland by sending Donnie to visit there yesterday? And also, what is up with this ridiculous cultural appropriation? Okay. I think it's just another extent to which these people are completely unself-aware and deluded about themselves. Now, this all seems ridiculous. I mean, Donnie brought Charlie Kirk with him, so how seriously can we take it? However, Donald is threatening a native ally with a takeover. So you'd better believe that leaders of Denmark, remember, Greenland is a territory of Denmark, are taking this seriously. Danish Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen signaled on Wednesday that the country wants to discuss the issue more with Donald, meaning the issue of Greenland's strategic importance to American national security, saying the following quote: "We're open to a dialogue with the Americans on how we can possibly cooperate even more closely than we do to ensure that the American ambitions are fulfilled," Rasmussen told reporters. That doesn't mean that Greenland is going to stop being an independent state. It just means that America and Denmark already cooperate in this area. France's response to Donald was to warn the United States against threatening the borders of the European Union, which is exactly what Donald is doing. Here's a clip of French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot.
Est-ce que, si vous m'interrogez, je pense que les États-Unis envahiront le Groenland? La réponse est non. Est-ce que nous sommes entrés dans une époque qui voit le retour de la loi du plus fort? La réponse est oui. Alors, faut-il se laisser intimider? Faut-il se laisser gagner par l'inquiétude? Évidemment que non.
And Mexico's president had a sarcastic response to Donald's threat to rename the Gulf of Mexico that I'd like to frame. Check it out.
Donald Trump hizo declaraciones acerca de cambiar.
Digo, obviamente, Golfo de México es reconocido el nombre por Naciones Unidas, un organismo de Naciones Unidas, pero el siguiente, ¿por qué no le llamamos América Mexicana? Se oye bonito, ¿no?
No? All right, so there's also a lot going on in terms of Donald's court cases because he's Donald Trump. So, of course, there's a lot going on. This time around, we know that his personal pocket judge, Aileen Cannon, attempted to thwart the release of the reports Jack Smith prepared, one having to do with the stolen documents case in Florida and the other having to do with the January 6th case, which had been presided over by Judge Tanya Chutkan. Now, the questions were about Cannon's legitimacy and standing here were raised, and thankfully, Attorney General Merrick Garland remembered today that he was Attorney General, and he did announce his intention to release part of Jack Smith's report, specifically the report about January 6th. There are some technical reasons why we may not be able to see the full report on the stolen documents case, and that's because there are still defendants in that case. But I'm hoping that somebody in the Senate or in the House will do the American people a favor and release everything, because not only because we funded those reports, we funded those prosecutions, but because thanks to corrupt judges like Aileen Cannon and the illegitimate corrupt supermajority of the Supreme Court, Donald was not, it's not even that he wasn't held accountable. He wasn't even tried. So we need to know, yeah, the die has been cast. He's heading back to the Oval Office. Okay, fine. But we at least deserve to know every detail about what this man has done to our country. Garland himself emphasized that the public has a right to know the full scope of Donald's actions and the threat posed to our democracy. I think it's also worth pointing out that, as some of you may know, on Friday, Donald is set to be sentenced by Justice Juan Merchan in the New York election interference case. He was found guilty back in May of 2024 by a jury of his peers on 34 felony counts. Sentencing was originally scheduled for July. It has been postponed at least 3 or 4 times since then, thanks in part to this Supreme Court's decision in the presidential immunity ruling. And Donald is desperate for this not to happen. So he ran to the Supreme Court this morning, leapfrogging over New York state courts. And the Supreme Court decided to allow this and order the prosecution to present its case tomorrow about whether or not Donald's sentencing should either be delayed or, canceled entirely. Why does it matter to Donald? Because Merchan has made it clear that there really won't be any punishment involved in this. Well, at the sentencing, Donald will be known forevermore as a convicted felon and he wants to avoid that at all costs. So we are going to keep you posted. I have a video about all of the legal wranglings going on that you might want to check out. And before we end, I'd love to take a look at some of your comments tonight. It's been another wild week. And again, we're still 13 days out from the inauguration of the worst president in American history. I'm calling it. I'm calling it already. All right, from Betty Veronica. Hey, Betty. Can we call for psychiatric emergencies? Seriously, Donald's a danger to society, to humanity. Hold him for a 72-hour eval by independent doctors, prison psych ward, Rikers. Yeah, if only. I'm pretty sure psych holds can only be ordered or, should say requested by close family members. And unless Donald does something publicly that endangers us, well, what a great irony. He endangers us all the time. But, unless he's like causing some individual to be endangered by threatening them physically or what have you. It's not going to happen. He's surrounded by enablers and sycophants, and we are stuck with him until such time as Shadow President Elon Musk and fictional Vice President J.D. Vance have decided that they've had enough, and the Republicans think that they can do better with somebody else and try to get rid of Donald by invoking the 25th Amendment. Who knows? High drama. But Betty Veronica, I wish. All right. So from one of our awesome moderators, Susan Thompson, this is what I was worried about. What will happen to California wildfire disaster after Biden leaves office? We know how vindictive Donald is. California is going to need massive resources and funding. Yes, it is a very serious concern because we know this is a known quantity. It's not, well, is Donald going to be good on this issue? Is he going to know anything? Is he going to be vindictive? Yes. No, he's not going to know anything. Yes, he's going to be vindictive. We've seen this movie play out before. There are no surprises here, which is another reason why voting for him was so incredibly reckless on the part of those who did vote for him. I have to hope that President Biden is putting together a very large package that is going to be spread out over the next few months, and that the Biden administration is working closely with the insurance agencies. And, luckily for California, it is a massively wealthy state. California has I believe it's the 5th largest economy in the world. So luckily, they have that going for them as well. But they certainly cannot count on anything from Donald Trump. From Citrus Spicy, 4 more years of idiotic social media rants from Dopey Donald from his golden throne. Yes, indeed. And I'm actually trying to figure out a strategy how to deal with it most effectively. So I'll be sharing all of that with you as soon as I've finished it. It's a work in progress. All right, from Bring On the Gates. Thanks for pointing out that Donald held California hostage over FEMA and other assistance during his last term because he was pissed off that he didn't get the Electoral College votes. Even Pence took offense at that and confronted him on Air Force One about it, and then the whole thing about raking forests. Yes, if you'll remember, Donald blamed California on the wildfires because they did not effectively rake the forest floor, which, by the way, is not a thing. From D. Michelle, holy cow, his voice on my phone sounds like a gerbil. Literally, not nearly as cute as a gerbil, though. And isn't it better than listening to what he actually sounds like? We think so. But you guys let me know. Let me know what you think. From Charlton, I think it would be Gulf of Trump. So Donnie can be buried there to feed the fishes. And contribute. Yes, because we know how much he values the environment and wants to give back. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to be the Gulf of Mexico from here on in, and he's going to be buried in the back nine somewhere someday. Who knows? All right, we are at the end of our show. It has been so great to be with you. again, all of our thoughts are with our fellow Americans in California. It's a very tough time out there. If you can give to any organizations that are out there helping, I have no doubt the Red Cross is out there. I have no doubt Jose Andres, World Food Kitchen is going to be out there helping feed people who have been rendered homeless by this tragedy. And it's going to be ongoing. This is not, everything is not going to be okay as soon as the fires are put out. So let's hope for that first. All of our thoughts as well with first responders and all of the officials out there who are working night and day to mitigate as much of this disaster as they possibly can. Thank you again all so much for being here. We will be back with the nerds tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern and back here with Mary Trump Live on Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern. In the meantime, everybody, please stay safe and be kind. Have a great night.